This is Kyle McCord, and you're listening to Austin, Felix, and Matt on the Devy Debate.
Welcome to the Devy Debate. All right, boys, are we ready to debate? Austin, you tweeted something earlier. You tweeted your running back rankings. Explain yourself.
Boy, that escalated quickly. I mean, that really got out of hand, fellas. Who jumped up and...
That's Austin Nate.
Who is going to be that guy? And for me, Bijan Robinson is still going to be that guy.
Back to the ground with Robinson, who spins and then tries to bounce it. A stiff arm, another one as he rides it, keeps his balance. They're going to say stepped out, but
I'm Felix Sharp. I know you didn't think that we would get through this episode without mentioning the name one Zach F. Wilson.
Screener draw. Oh, Wilson is going to uncourt for the end zone, and he drops it in beautifully. And it is his roommate Dax Milne on the touchdown.
That's Matt Bruning.
G. Scott Jr. Obviously, I waxed poetic about him on the last episode, so I won't do that again here.
And it's Thomas Fields on the carry. Watch out! Justin Fields! Hello, Columbus! 51 yards!
Bruning, are you ready to go head-to-head with me?
I am.
Got to get my popcorn out here. Hold on.
Got to continue. I got it. Kyle McCord is going to end up winning the job. He's going to be rated higher.
Well, I'm not nearly as passionate about what I'm about to talk about.
Our apologies to Kirk Herbstreit. We ran out of time. We'll get him rescheduled soon. And for Matt Bruning and Austin Nate, I'm Felix Sharp. Good night and good luck.
What's going on, everybody? It is 8:30 Central Time. The time when it's got a fever. The only prescription is more cowbell. That's right. Smash that like button, Felix Sharp. We are live. I am not Felix Sharp, as you can tell. I am Sean McVay's twice removed third brother on his mother's side's cousin's sister's brother-in-law. I don't know if any of that makes sense, but I'm in the family somehow. Supporting Austin's lifelong team, the Los Angeles Rams. Got this just for him. I wanted to support him and his lifelong Ram fandom. Congratulations on the Super Bowl. But that means it is time for Devy Debate, brought to you guys by CampusToCanton.com. I am Matt Bruning. That is Chris Moxley. And down below is after-show superstar Mike Valeri. For today's show, we are going to be talking about the Combine breakouts in the 2022 season and have some special guests on the after show. So let's kick it off, though, with the Combine, as that does start Thursday with, yes, Mike is looking like a Top Gun extra with half a mustache. If you guys set the scene, if you guys are not watching live, he literally has half a mustache, guys. It is quite compelling. I'm very curious to see what happens to the other half of that mustache during tonight's show. But tomorrow night, we will see a bunch of the players that we care about for fantasy, a lot of these skill position players kicking it off at the Combine with we will see their weights, hand sizes. They will be running through drills. Mike, who is one player you are looking forward to getting some measurements on? I know you and Moxley are more into the analytics than some of us are, at least I am on this show. So whose measurements do you think matters more tomorrow when we get those?
Yeah, so great question. I don't really care too much about the Senior Bowl guys. We got their measurements. If they put on the weight, they clearly just ate a bunch of cheeseburgers last month to boost those numbers up. So the guy that I really care about is going to be Kenneth Walker. I've been a known Kenneth Walker hater probably this whole year. By hater, I mean like I have him as like RB5. But I don't believe he's 210. The whole year we saw Kenneth Walker listed at 210. But you know who else was listed at 215? And that was Breece Hall. If you stick Breece Hall in the room next to Kenneth Walker, do I think there's a 5-pound difference between those two players? I don't. So I'm pretty excited to see what Kenneth Walker weighs in as and his height, but not really too worried about the height. I'm more worried about the weight. 210 is my threshold, and if he's below that, I'm definitely going to be fading him probably a little further.
It's crazy that you say that because I feel like if he comes in at like 199, everybody's gonna hate Kyron Williams. But if he comes in at like 201, everybody's gonna be like Kyron Williams RB3. Like it's insane how much just a couple pounds matter for this stuff. But I'm very intrigued to see him as well because I think he's a very well-rounded back, and in my opinion, he's the best pass blocking back in this class. Maybe I've heard Devonta Price has gotten a lot of talk as being the best. I haven't watched him, so I don't know. But Kyron is amazing, and I really think it's just the size that's going to hold him back. But Chris, who do you think has the best chance to improve their draft capital with a good performance this weekend?
So I thought about this one a little bit. I think it's George Pickens. I think George Pickens has kind of been a forgotten wide receiver in the class, and he's a guy who flashed as a freshman, but has really had injuries, a down sophomore season, and then totally basically wasn't healthy the entire year, despite coming back. He tore his ACL early, but managed to return for the last, I think, 2 or 3 games of the season. He claims that he can run in the 4.3s or 4.4s. I don't know if that's necessarily true. But if he does, it certainly boosts his stock to a fringe first, possibly a fringe first, probably a second round player. And I think he's a guy who can improve his stock a lot, depending on his testing. And if he is healthy and his medicals check out, the combine's big for him.
Yeah, that was my bad. Take a week off and I forget how to mute myself and everything. Pickens is really interesting to me as well. Matt Fox, who does all of our NFL content over at Campus to Canton, we just did a NFL draft and a NFL mock draft and a rookie mock draft, and I mentioned that as well. I think Pickens could really not just increase his draft capital, but shoot up rookie draft boards as well. He's consistently going in like the second round in a lot of rookie mocks. If he goes out there and has a good weekend, I could definitely see him jumping up as well. Mike, is there someone that you think as well? I saw you shaking your head on Pickens. You agree on that? Is there another player you think could improve their draft capital?
Yeah, I was pretty excited about the Pickens ones too. He didn't really have much production here, and when a lot of us are basing our stuff off of 2020. But the one that I think I want to see improve is, well, actually, it was Pickens. I opened my notebook up. It was Pickens. It was Pickens. I want to see his numbers. I want to see him pop, and I think he will pop on tape or pop on the number category here. It's going to see his draft stock rise.
Yeah, I actually agree with Mike too on his call. I don't think that Walker is 210 either. I think he is closer to 200 than he is 210. Because last year, before he transferred to Michigan State, this dude was listed at 200 on Wake Forest depth chart. Is there a chance that he gained 10 pounds in the offseason? Absolutely. But Michigan State, also on this data that I've done, I've done a whole bunch of research on running back weight gain and which teams overlist their running backs in terms of weight. Michigan State is one of the worst offenders. They overlist their running backs by an average of like 4.6 pounds. So there's a realistic chance that Walker weighs in at 205. Or less.
Yeah, I actually think a lot more players stand to lose going to the combine than they stand to gain. Yeah, there's a lot more question marks out there. Like James Cook, like he didn't go to the Senior Bowl. How much does he weigh? Like, let us know. And then like Jahan Dotson, I don't really know about Jahan Dotson. I think we all think he's light. I don't think he's trying to hide that at all. But you know what I'm saying? There's a lot more guys out there like willing to lose when we find out the numbers and stuff like that. I don't think Dameon Pierce is that agile. I think it's a little slow. I'm looking forward to Dameon Pierce's 40 time. The list goes on.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what. Damn it! Now I completely forgot what I was about to say. A player that you just mentioned, and I wanted to talk about them, and now I can't.
Kenneth
remember.
Walker, James Cook,
Jahan Dotson.
Jahan Dotson. There we go. I'm very curious to see what he measures in at because there's a lot of rumors that's short. Why he did not go to the Senior Bowl because I think he's listed at like 5'10" or 11 on Penn State's website. And there's a lot of rumors that he's really only like maybe 5'9". So I'm very curious to see what he measures in height. Well, it's not that I think it matters. I think he's a good wide receiver, but if he comes in at like 5'9", I think that changes a little bit for some people. So I'm curious to see how that works out.
That's interesting because I never really doubted his height. Now, Wan'Dale Robinson, though, I'm very excited to see that number.
How short does he have to be to kind of ruin that for you guys?
5'8". Probably
5'8".
Well, what is he listed at right now? 5'10"?
5'11" is what he's listed at.
No,
he's listed at 5'11".
He's not 5'11". I think he's probably closer to 5'8", 5'9". I think Jahan Dotson is 5'8". And
That's
so
crazy. I always thought he was 5'11". I'm out on guys that are if they're below 5'10", like that's my line for me. Then they need to be some sort of like top tier athlete. You know, that Jalen Waddle, that Elijah Moore. Not Waddle's not short, but he's underweight. But if you're under those like weight and height thresholds for me, I need to see some sort of top tier athleticism.
Yeah, I agree. I think Wandale's really athletic and can play in multiple roles. I don't know if Dotson has that same athleticism.
Yeah. So who, going the opposite side of this, we just talked about who are players that you guys think could improve their draft capital. Mike, I'll throw it to you first. Who's someone you think could ruin their draft capital? Whether it's like you just mentioned, a Damian Pierce maybe not being that agile in the 3-cone drill. Is it Jahan Dotson and Wandale coming in at like 5'6"? Like what is it that will kind of tank someone's draft capital after the combine weekend?
Yeah, so for me, I already kind of touched on earlier. It is James Cook and Damian Pierce. We've seen a wave of recency bias and people getting all excited. I mean, James Cook was, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think he was RB4 in his class. I think he was a 5-star prospect, or was a very high 4-star prospect. And we didn't see that type of level of production from him in college, but everyone's still praising him because he had one big run against Alabama. I think that dude's a twig. I think he weighs closer to 180, maybe 185, and that just doesn't cut in the NFL. And so I think once it comes out what his actual size is, unless he converts to wide receiver, I think it's going to be a hard fade. And then I also think Damian Pierce is this year's Jared Dokes. So I'm just kind of waiting for that to happen.
That's a good.
Moxley, you have anybody?
I know people will say it doesn't matter, and like I'm not sure how much it really does matter. But there are rumors that Kenny Pickett's hands are the 4th smallest hands in the last 40 years. Like, they say his hands are closer to 8 inches than they are like 8.5 inches. And those are really, really tiny hands. We've never seen a player succeed with that. He was wearing gloves indoors. Like, I don't know if it matters, but I'm really, really curious to see what his hand size is.
He can skip that though, can he? I mean, I know he did at the Senior Bowl. Do you think he skips it tomorrow?
I don't know if he will. So his argument is that he is double jointed and therefore his hands are bigger, which is something I would say if my hands were also small. But I'm just really curious about that measurement because I think some NFL teams are. I don't know if it matters, but I do think some NFL teams think it does matter. And I think it will take some of them, not off their board, but like it'll move them down. And so I think he could lose stock if he actually has like 8-inch hands, which
I imagine
he does.
Yeah, I imagine that the NFL teams have to question him during the interview process about his hands. I feel like that has to come up. Like it has to come out.
Yeah.
Yeah. The one thing I guess
interesting.
The one thing I'll say, I guess, in favor of him is he did play at Pitt with some bad weather at times, and it didn't seem to affect him. He didn't have a lot of fumbles and everything. So even with the baby hands, he was able to hold on to the ball. So I'll give him some love on that part. And go ahead, because I got to say something mean to someone here in a minute. So go ahead, Moxley. Go make
That's
your
fine.
thing.
If it's going to be mean to me, I want to get out ahead of this. Okay, cool. Since 2017, Pickett ranks 3rd in turnovers, interceptions, and fumbles in the entirety of Division I FBS. The only player ahead of him was Adrian Martinez and someone else who graduated. I don't remember. But
Heisman Martinez.
Heisman Martinez. But he had like extensive turnover issues, and that like part of it's probably playing in Heinz Field and like being in bad weather with Pitt. But I really question a guy with really small hands is top 3 in turnovers over the last 4 years. Like I find it hard to believe that there isn't something there. Like even if it's small, they feel slightly related. But I don't have the data to back it up. I'm only speaking from narrative.
If you say anything mean to me, you got to keep it to yourself. All right.
It's not mean. I think it's more funny than anything else. But correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know. This may be. I don't know. Moxley, you're young. Mike, how young are you? Like, you don't have to give me an age here. You know, gentleman never asks. I shouldn't say a woman's age, but never. You know, like, are you my age ish? Do you?
No, but I'm older than Moxley, by the way.
Okay, so you'll probably get this reference. The way you keep leaning into your camera and do it, you remind me a lot of Ace Ventura when he's looking for the ring in the Miami Dolphins. Like just the way you're doing it with the mustache, the shirt. It just you're giving off.
Okay, so
I
my
think it's funny. Go ahead. Sorry.
new setup here. My mic doesn't fit on this desk I got from Habitat for Humanity, so it's actually on a bookshelf behind the desk, and it only hangs off like far off to the right of my desk. So I'm actually like this is the center of my computer. So I have the camera way off to the side. I'm leaning on my seat.
Yeah, it's just like you see it now, don't you, Moxley? When it's like I get now while you're doing it. It's just funny the way you keep coming in. It's like it makes me laugh every time I see it. All right, Moxley, Austin is not here. I did not get to listen to whether if he was good cop or bad cop, but we know your wife has a favorite cop version of you.
Oh my God.
So why don't we bring that out? Let's see some bad cop tonight, and let's talk about some housekeeping stuff for the website.
I wouldn't say I'm bad cop as much as just the cop you don't want to cross. Maybe I got some dirty dealings. Maybe there were a couple incidences I let slide. Maybe I'm being paid by somebody else. You don't know necessarily that I'm a bad cop. Maybe I'm just crooked. Allegedly, all of course, right? We got a couple things coming up that I think y'all would be interested in, and if you're not interested in them, there might be problems for you. Is all I'm saying. Subscribe to the YouTube page is the first thing. We got a lot of stuff on there. We're producing content daily. We're about to get wrapped back up in some of our off-season content. We're doing daily content. We have the official now, which is Alfred, Matt, and David's new show, which is awesome stuff. It is groundbreaking analytics content for high school freshmen, which are the basis for our Devy rankings and basically giving you the leg up for any of your league makes. We got a lot of stuff over there. So subscribe to the YouTube, turn on notifications if you want. You'll see whenever we go live. I would do it if I were you, or you might face consequences. I'm not saying anything. Just I wouldn't want some bad stuff to happen to you. Other thing is I would venture to say that I would be leaving 5-star reviews on this podcast if you can. I know a lot of you have iPhones. I know a lot of y'all have Androids. I know you have access to the iTunes store, the Spotify store. There, you don't want to end up with a horse head in your bed, is all I'm going to say about the reviews. Leave a 5-star review if you like us, and if you don't like us, I would leave a 5-star review anyway. And that is just a suggestion. I, don't want anything that bad to happen to you, so I would just leave a 5-star review. That's all I'm saying.
Do we have anything special coming out? Any type of guides that's like tied to something?
Yeah. We got some good stuff coming out. We got the freshman supplemental guide. It's 184 profiles of players that we've written on, and they're freshmen that are coming in, and then players who are probably available in your Campus Canton leagues. We also have, those players are tiered out and with a lot of cool stuff. We have ADP for those players. We have, a bunch of contributors that did a really great job on this, and you get a lot of extensive knowledge from an analytics perspective, a pure film perspective. There's a lot of really interesting stuff in this guide that I would be remiss if you didn't consider doing so. You sit down, you read the guide, you get a couple slices of the gabagool, it's fine.
And then how much is the guide, or is it included in something? What's going on?
Yeah, it's $29.99. If your membership is $29.99, you sign up for the membership, you get the guide, bang, bang, boom.
Wait a minute. Hold up. You're telling me, Chris Moxley, that all I have to do is sign up for the website, which comes in with the metric tool and all these great articles, and I get the guide for free?
That's what I'm telling you. You get the guide for free with the yearly membership, which is currently $29.99.
That Hawaiian shirt's just not too tight, Chris. That's insane.
Listen, I don't cite the pricing. I think Austin probably is off his rocker for this deal. We tried to sneak it past him, and I think he just there's a screw loose up there for Austin OK at this.
I mean, I think it's mostly because Austin just like pockets all of our money. I don't think any of us. Mike, have you even been paid yet? Like, I'm still kind of curious on how all that stuff works. But just to kind of jump onto the guide there, as Moxley mentioned, it's 184 profiles. We've got mile per hour stuff in there, ADP rankings. We put a ton of work into it, so I appreciate you guys jumping in. It is the perfect evolutions of beard, Polar Knights. It is 100%. I agree with you right there. It's just, it's glorious. It's a great show. Hair, too. I think all of our hair is on point. Usually the host of this show struggles a little bit with that part. So, it's good to get we've got some hair going on this show. Good hair game. All right, so jumping into the main part of the show today, we're going to do year 2 breakouts. And Felix and Austin don't let me have any fun on this show. Anytime I'm like, hey, let's do a little game and let's keep track of this, see who wins at the end of the year. They never want to do it because they both know they're likely going to lose to me. But I get to control the show today. And so we are going to do this my way. I'm going to keep track of this, and hopefully at least Mike doesn't win it, because then we have to bring him back at some point in time later in the year for him to gloat about winning. But what we're going to do is talk year 2 breakouts. 3 at the quarterback, running back, and wide receiver position, and how the point totals are going to work. If the player that you pick finishes in the top 24, they're going to get 8 points, 25 to 65, and then 60 plus 3 points. And I'm going to kick it to you first, Mike. You are the guest. Give us one of your quarterbacks that you think is going to have a breakout second season.
All right, thank you. I'm the guest for now. Just saying, just for now. But just some foreshadowing.
I mean, hey, with that Felix impression, we may not need him to come back. I mean, I know he's not watching and or listening, so we may may just found a new permanent host.
Hey, maybe. So I'm not a quarterback guy. I'm really not. And Chris Moxley beat me to the page. So he got the 2 guys that I really care the most about outside of Jackson Dart and Caleb Williams. Those were the 2 guys that were off limits to put on the sheet. So my first one up is going to be Tyler Buckner from Notre Dame. It's a new system there, new head coach. And the first game that this guy has as a new head coach is a 500-yard passing game with a quarterback has never thrown for more than 400 the whole season. I think it's just wheels up for that whole offense to begin with. We had the breakout of Lorenzo Styles, who I will talk about very soon. And I just believe in it. And I think he's set up to go off here. And I think Notre Dame keeps their entire offensive line. I mean, it's a school known for creating offensive linemen. It's not a lot of the core pieces. I'm just saying they're set up to succeed there, and I'm pretty excited about that. So I think Tyler Buckner has all the tools laid out in front of him to succeed. He just has to be almost mediocre at best.
Moxley, give us one of yours.
Which one do I would like? I'm going to go Seth Hennigan, which is the one that the other one that Mike was alluding to. He's a guy that I think could be very productive at Memphis for you. He had a 62.9 QBR, almost a 0.4 EPA per play as a true freshman. And to put those numbers into context, those are impressive numbers to do as a guy who was not expected to start this year. He was expected to be like the starter in 2022, was forced in due to injury, and stepped up and was pretty impressive. One of our contributors, Hannah, wrote an article, the 411 on the AAC, and she mentioned that he was second in the AAC in yards per attempt, and yards per attempt is one of the more predictive metrics when we're talking about quarterbacks as well. I think he's a guy that can finish very highly in CFF leagues that I'm really excited about. I also think his NFL potential, I am on the Seth Hennigan bandwagon. I think he's a pretty good player.
Yeah, I like Hennigan a lot. Obviously, last year at this point in time, I was all aboard the Grant Gunnell train. That did not work out at all. But Hennigan was phenomenal all season. I think he missed 1 or 2 games due to that injury, but outside of that, he was good. And Memphis has always had a good offense, so I'm with you there. I like that a lot. I went Sam Heward out of Washington. Talked a little bit about this, Mike. You were kind of the creator of this subconsciously when you put out that tweet the other day about the wide receivers that broke out with 900 plus yards. Like, well, you know what? Why don't we just do like a whole show on second year breakouts? And I mentioned in that a couple of other players, and that got me thinking about Sam Heward. I'm all in. I think Kalen DeBoer coming over was one of the best coaching hires this offseason for that offense. I know they've got Michael Penix there, and there are a lot of people who believe Penix will get the job. I don't. I just don't think he has the tools, and I understand why Felix has liked him for as long as he did, right? He's had flashes of being a really good quarterback, but I think just the mixture of bad mechanics and just consistently being injured has not allowed him to develop into what he could have been, and I don't think that happens now. Heward was the top quarterback in his class. He did play horrible in that one game he got to start last year, the last game for Washington. The one thing I will say for him, though, is coming out of high school, we all talked about him kind of running as Felix, quote unquote, kind of became famous on all our shows because we'd always mentioned he had cement shoes. That's the way he ran. He looked more mobile in that game for Washington than I thought he would be. He's not going to burn anybody with his legs, but I do think he can buy a little bit of time. Jake Haener last year with Fresno put up 30 points a game on average with that Fresno State offense. I think Washington's going to be able to do close to that. Maybe not quite as good because Fresno played probably a little bit worse competition than what the Washington's going to get in the Pac-12, but their schedule is fairly easy. They only play 3 good teams throughout the year. And I think Sam Heward's going to take a massive step forward this year. I expect him to have a really good season with the Washington Huskies. Go ahead, Mike.
I forgot that I was up. Sorry. I'm actually pretty excited about this next one here because I dug in more and I got pretty excited about it. It's going to be Drake May of UNC. Sam Howell leaves for the draft. It's kind of the same kind of narrative here that the team really doesn't change too much, but he gets to step into a really nice talent that's Josh Downs. I mean, he's a borderline round 1, definitely a round 2 guy at the worst right now at the moment. And so he's set up to succeed. He has great size at 6'5", 220. So he's not shaped like the Hobbit and he has to throw over the line. He has great size where he can throw the ball a little more accurately over the field. But the one real start that he had, I shouldn't say start, the one game that he had playing time in, we saw him throw 9 attempts, 7 completions, right? And he only had 10 attempts the whole season, 70% completion rate. That's not going to hold, but it makes me feel a little good. It's a super small sample size, so it gives me a little bit of a feel-good feeling here. And I think Drake May is set up to kind of pick up where Sam Howell belonged. And the UNC defense isn't getting any better. I don't think so. They're going to be playing from behind more often than not. And he's going to be able to throw the ball and just air it out.
Mike is stealing all my guys, man.
No, you stole Seth Hennigan. I'm a huge Seth Hennigan fan.
Oh, you got 2 of my guys on here that I would have put, but I was being generous and for those listening, I gifted Mike Tyler Buchner. He's very upset.
This is true.
He was crying, and I didn't want to make a big deal about it for the show. I didn't want it to go smoothly, so I gifted him Tyler Buchner, and I replaced him with Kadon Salter, the Liberty transfer from Tennessee, who has a million off the field issues, and of course was recruited by Liberty and Hugh Freeze and that entire program, who kind of turns a blind eye to those sorts of things. But Salter is a really good player. Salter is someone who has great mobility. He has good pocket presence. He can be a productive player. He has good arm strength. He just has to win the job. And I think he will. I think he's the most talented player in that room. There's off the field concerns with him. Absolutely. But Salter's a guy who was a high-end recruited to Tennessee. It didn't work out really only because of off the field issues. I think that he would still be there if he wasn't being a knucklehead in the SEC. And I think that he maybe now has a chance to redeem himself. And, he's a guy that I think could, if he does start this year, has potential to be a top 30 CFF producer for you, just because he has that level of mobility, and the offense is adding a couple pieces despite losing Malik Willis. So he's a guy that I'm tentatively interested in.
Yeah, so I completely went and did not look at the show sheet. So I just want to jump back to Sam Heward really quick and mention Kalen DeBoer's offense, because I did all this work to put that stuff together and didn't even talk about it. Where did it go? I'm doing a really great job of hosting tonight. 58% success rate and 58 early pass rate, 50% success rate, total EPA 195.73. So just want to throw it out there. And he does have Jalen McMillan and Rome Odunze on the outside, which I think are better than any of the weapons that Kalen DeBoer has had at Fresno State. On to my next guy. This one, I admit, is taking a little bit of a leap of faith. because there is a chance that he doesn't start out the year as the starter, but I think he's the better quarterback in the room, and that is Ty Thompson at Oregon. He's got the size, athleticism, incredible arm talent. A little bit worried that he was never able to get onto the field last year, and we never really got a reason why. I know Mario Cristobal he seems like one of those older coaches that's a little bit hesitant to lean on the younger players, but even when Oregon was out of games, they still didn't put him in there. Is it because Ty Thompson wasn't ready? I don't know. I hope that's not the reason why, because then he's definitely not going to. I'm not going to get any points from this guy. But I just don't think Bo Nix is it. And I know he's got the connection to Dillingham. But I don't think Oregon is wanting to build toward the future. I think they believe their future is now. USC is likely going to be the king of the Pac-12 here in the next couple years with Riley coming over. Utah's probably the best team right now in the Pac-12, so I think Oregon knows they have a chance to strike. If Bo Nix struggles or does not look good, I do think Ty Thompson can get in. And with what Dillingham was able to do with Bo Nix in his freshman season, and that was the best we've seen of Bo Nix, I think Ty Thompson has more talent than Bo Nix, and if he can put it together, should be with his athleticism, rushing upside, and his arm, should put up some decent fantasy numbers, because I do think they're going to be able to put up points on any defense that they play. So I'm all in on Ty Thompson jumping up. Maybe not top 24, because I still don't know that he starts the season. I think Bo Nix starts, but I think he could get into that 30 to 35 range by the end of the year, because he starts enough games and puts up enough points. That's you, Ace Ventura. You're up.
Yeah. All right. My last one is JJ McCarthy. I don't think McNamara. I'm gonna say it. How do you say it one time? Someone help me out.
Cade McNamara.
Cade McNamara, whatever. He sucks. I don't think he's it. I don't even want to learn his name. I don't even want to learn his name. I don't want to learn his name. I wanted them to recycle and go to the next guy. And I'm tired. I'm sorry, Kevin, if you're listening. I'm tired of Michigan having all this great talent and then having it just not really come out. I feel like they're always have these great talents come to Michigan, and it's like maybe we get a running back flash here and there, but that's pretty much about it. I think that team's stacked, and I don't know why I'm buying in that they're gonna do well. But JJ McCarthy was my default one left after I couldn't take Seth Hennigan. So JJ McCarthy, I'm rooting for you to take over that room. But let's get something new going on there.
I like that call. If he can learn how to play in structure, he could be a very good quarterback. He just needs to figure out how to actually play in a regular offense. But my final guy is Clay Millen. Originally a Nevada recruit, but joined Jay Norvell when Norvell moved on to Colorado State. I like Millen. I think he's a good quarterback. He's like a pretty, he understands pocket presence pretty well, and I think he has a fine arm. But the real reason I like him is because Jay Norvell passes like a ton. Last year, he ranked third in neutral game script pass rate, which is basically like when the game is close and you're not in fourth down situations, what does it look like? And so that offense wants to pass a bunch. And I think that Millen is basically going to assume the Carson Strong-esque role. I like the weapons they have there. Dante Wright, I think, is a good wide receiver. I like Torrey Horton, who also transferred in from Nevada. I think that there are players in that offense that can help Millen succeed. So I like year two upside for Millen, and he's got a prototypical pro style quarterback body. He's a guy that I'm excited about. And I think time
out. Felix Sharp here. What quarterbacks are 6'7" in the NFL?
I mean, what was his name? The Brock Lobster was okay, I guess. I mean, he got a team to the playoffs, and I'm pretty sure he was the reason Denver won the division. And I know Peyton Manning came back and took him to the Super Bowl, but maybe he's the outlier there, Mike. Maybe he's an outlier.
That's a good point.
All right, so that goes to me, and I debated very hard on this last quarterback. I really wasn't sure, do I go Jake Garcia? Baron Morton is a guy I think could take over at Texas Tech. I was trying to find somebody. I don't
It
know if
was
Taker
slim
is
pickings.
gonna
It
be
was
good.
hard after like 4
Yeah.
guys.
I mean, after
Yeah.
a lot of those guys win, it's kind of like, does this guy really have
Yeah.
a chance to do anything? I really thought about going Morton because I think he could. I don't know. Donovan Smith had like 2 good games. I don't know that he's really the future of Texas Tech.
That's a good one. I like that. You can take JJ McCarthy. I'll talk Donovan Smith.
Tyler Shuck is the starter there.
Jesus
No, he's
Christ.
not.
No, he's not.
Did he
No,
play
he's
in the
not.
bowl game?
Anyways, the player I'm going with is Kyle fucking McCord. I'm not gonna say that he beats CJ Stroud and wins the job. That ship has sailed. I'm still at the harbor now. I came back. I'm not going down with the Titanic. But I do think that he likely transfers out. I don't think he stays there. I'd love it if he did because I'm such a big Ohio State fan and I love Kyle McCord, but I don't think there's any way he stays once spring comes and he's not going to get that job. And we talked about it last year, and I still believe that he could start on like 95% of rosters. So if he transfers out somewhere, I do think that he's going to be smart, go somewhere where he can get the starting job. He's got all the talent in the world. I mean, what's wrong, Moxley? I don't give up on my guys, man. Raymond Davis.
I didn't say anything. I didn't say anything.
This whole exercise made me realize how down I was on the class because I opened up the sheet. I saw Chris took Tyler Buckner and Seth Hennigan, and I was like, all right. And I went straight to my Devy rankings, which is what I do for C2C, and I was like, I have like 3 or 4 guys in the top 50 for quarterback in this class. Like that was it. I think that was that.
All right, let's go to running back, and I'm going to kick it off here with L.J. Johnson out of Texas A&M. And I'll fully admit that so our rule was you can't take anybody in the first 2 rounds. I'm pretty sure he's not going in the first 2 rounds, but I didn't actually look to see. Okay, Moxie's shaking his head no, so I'm good there.
He's not.
Obviously, they've got Devin Achane there, who is, neither would I, but I was trying to remember because I did what was it? We did some, and I saw someone took him really early, but I didn't think it was top 2 rounds. But anyways, they've got Achane, who's probably going to get a lot of work, very explosive running back. LJ Johnson, the complete opposite. He's more of like the Isaiah Spiller of this offense. But if you go look at what Jimbo Fisher's offenses have been, no, they've only had 3 running backs since going back to his time at Florida State who have ever gotten over 200 carries. It was Dalvin Cook twice, and for the life of me, I cannot remember who the 3rd running back is right now. They split those carries almost fairly evenly. The past couple of years, Isaiah Spiller, 179, Devin Achane, 139. Then the year before that, they had Nia Smith and Achane splitting carries. It was 74-39, and then Isaiah Spiller had 159. So I do think that they're going to split carries with LJ and Achane, and I like LJ Johnson's game. He was RB3 for me last year behind Travion and Will Shipley, and Travion was in a tier of his own, but it was Shipley and then LJ were right there together. And while I do think they're going to go to a more of a passing offense, I talked about this recently after the interview Jimbo Fisher gave on 24/7 Sports. It's why he said he went out and got Weigman because he wanted to start airing the ball out more. He said that's how you win. The past couple years, they've run the ball 50% of the time in neutral situations and had a 49% success rate. So, and I do think that LJ Johnson's going to be the guy down at the goal line. I honestly think LJ Johnson could be a very good running back, not just for CFF purposes, but I do think he's got NFL future as well. So I'm going to take LJ Johnson here. Chris, who is your first running back you're taking for a breakout? And on point, Chris Moxley.
All right, Chris here. Chris is here. Ultimate Castle is my guy. And
I gotta get it. I gotta get it out once a show, and that was my my example. No, yeah, but Ultimate Castle is my guy. And I don't think this is surprising. He's a guy that a lot of us were high on heading into the year. He had a 67% backfield dominator as a true freshman, which is really impressive. He beat out Mulbacar. He beat out all the other, options on that roster. He had 961 rushing yards on 5.1 yards per carry, which is, it's good. But the key is that he had 20 receptions as a true freshman. I think that number improves. I think that that's going to be a thing what we see him get maybe like in the 30-35 range. And I do expect touchdown regression from him. So last year he scored 16 touchdowns. I don't think that's happening again if he doesn't assume more of the work. But he is a guy I am projecting to be a top 12 to 15 running back in 2022 for your CFF production. So I really like McCaskill this year.
Go ahead, Mike.
Sorry, I was muted. I was looking at McCaskill stuff because I'm super excited about McCaskill. I feel like really undersold that, Chris. Anyway.
All right.
I'm just gonna go into running backs. My first running back here is going to be Raheem Sanders. I think he's outside the first 2 rounds. That was the parameter there. And Raheem Sanders was listed as an athlete last year, and he's shown exactly that. So his stats last year: 114 carries for 578 yards and 5 touchdowns. Also received 11 out of 14 targets for 104 yards. He averaged 5.1 per carry in the SEC, behind Arkansas's line, which is not ever an offensive line that anyone ever brags about. On top of that, his high school profile, right? So he was an athlete. He played wide receiver, running back, and linebacker in high school, as well as having a 15.9 yards per carry his senior year in high school. This dude's built like a tank, but can move very fluidly, and he's elusive in the open field too. I really like Raheem Sanders. Kind of how Chris said, if he gets more of the bulk load of the carries, I'm very much in on him. He's an insane athlete, and he had 19 forced missed tackles last year. 19. That's 19 out of 114. He also had a 15.8% explosive run rate. That means 15.8% of his runs were over 10 yards. So I do think Raheem Sanders, we're going to see a sharp rise in his draft stock here coming up, and I'm very excited about it.
Yeah, he's both those guys, I believe. Raheem Sanders and Alton are guys that Austin was very high on coming into the season last year, and both I think were. If you listen to Austin on Campus Life and grabbed them in your drafts, you were fairly happy with the production you got out of them. Just wanted to give him a shout out since they never really shout out anybody but themselves.
Yeah,
and, they're
I would
not
also
here,
like to give. I want to give another shout out to Austin too, just while we're talking about him. He also was very high on Jaden Wally. And we all know how that happened.
Was Jaden Wally good? I feel like he sucked. No? Okay, I thought so.
Yeah, we got to get both sides of the story here.
Pretty sure I drafted him in like a 50-team CFF league as like my wide receiver too, mostly because of Colin though, because Colin's like, that's Austin's guy. We got to grab him, and it did not.
I made a thread. I put in at least 30, 45 minutes of time on Twitter to make a thread about him.
I mean, speaking of bad calls, Mayan Williams is like, never mind. We're not going to go there because I don't want to dredge that up. Good old Felix Sharp. All right, so my second running back here is Carson Steele out of Ball State. I've talked a lot about him. Had a good back end of the season last year. Ball State typically runs the ball quite a bit, affectionately named Thor by his teammates. He had, where did it go? I already lost it. Like 800 rushing yards. Had 12 catches as well last year. Was more than I expected because he didn't really catch the ball a lot in high school. Suffered an injury in high school, which I think is why he was recruited so lowly and ended up going to Ball State. Don't know that he's ever got like any real NFL future ahead of him, but I do think he will be the lead ball carrier for Ball State. While that may not matter for like the first half of the season for you in your C2C leagues, I think he'll put up decent points, but never probably going to win you a week. When they get to Maction at the end of the year, that's when we saw him really break out, and a lot of people were talking about him. He had that really good run. He hurdled, I think it was like an Akron defender or something like that, on a Tuesday night with the gold flowing hair, just looking gorgeous out there. I think he's going to blow up at the end of the season next year and end up winning some people their CFF championship. So I'm all in on Ball State running back Carson Steele.
I like Carson Steele. He's affectionately named Thor. That's a really good nickname from him. If you've ever seen him run, like long flowing blonde locks. Like this dude's
not
jacked,
just run. Yeah, he's a fucking Adonis, man. He's like jacked.
Yeah,
he's like the Thor from Endgame.
No, I'm the Thor from Endgame without the hair. No. Just go look up a picture of him, Mike.
Yeah,
Carson Steele, because you're gonna clutch your pearls a little bit when you see my
Carsteel's good call. We're giving Austin a little too much love tonight because my next two are both Austin guys.
I mean, look, he's so modest, he would never do it himself, so we've got to do it for him. He would never toot his own horn and talk about how great he is at anything, so we've got to do it for him.
It's okay. I'll bounce it out again. He also really liked Michael Jackson III, and he's in the transfer portal now. All right, go ahead.
Thanks, Mike. I like Ontario Brown, and I was not a guy who liked Ontario Brown like 2 weeks ago. Ontario Brown's the Northern Illinois running back. Their leading rusher, Javon Ducker, transferred out. He went to Memphis. I expect him to split time with Harrison Whaley this year. But even splitting time, this was a team that ranked 125th in neutral game pass rate. They throw very little. They run as much as they possibly can until they're down. He had a 60% breakaway run rate. Like, this dude is electric as a true freshman last year. I'm really excited to see what he can do this year with probably 200 carries, even if he splits with Harrison Whaley, who should be back and healthy. I think Ontario Brown's a guy who you could see finish in the top 30 running backs and really has the size and I think the ability to be a long-term producer for you, i.e., like, I think he can be drafted. And like, you don't see that a lot in MAC running backs, and I think he could break that mold. So I like Ontario Brown. I didn't. He's one of Austin's guys, and I have come a long way around on him.
Okay, so Chris isn't selling this enough. NIU is the number one rushing offense in the league. And not only did someone else transfer out, Ducker transfer out, but also Ratovich or whatever is going to the draft. He'll be undrafted, but he's going to the draft. So 2 guys are gone, leaving just 2 left. I love him too. It's great picks, Chris. You're a great guy. You know your stuff. All right.
I appreciate
so
that.
Now I got you. And now my next guy here is going to be Montrell Johnson, right? Transfer from University of ULL. I'm going to mess it up. He had 163 carries for 141 yards and 12 touchdowns. And then he also had a little bit of receiving work at 6 for 53 and 0. So he doesn't have quite NFL size because I am a Devy guy here. He's listed at 205, which is fine because he's a freshman. He can put on 5 pounds over the next 2 years. I'm all good with that. He transfers to University of Florida, an SEC school. He follows his coach to a whole new school. And the guy that everyone keeps expecting to break out is DeMarcus Bowman. I think that train has left the station. DeMarcus Bowman, I'm not scared of him whatsoever. It's going to be the Montrell Johnson show, and it's coming to the SEC, and it's coming to Florida, and I'm all about it. He has an 11% explosive run rate. Sorry about that. Also has 24 missed tackles forced on 163 carries. So also very decent in those categories.
Very nice. Yeah, he's a guy. Man, we're talking a lot about Austin. We might as well just have had him on the show tonight. I know he's kind of come around on him as well here of late. Sticking on brand for me, I've got to talk about an Ohio State player. Evan Pryor is a guy that I think could break out a little bit here this year. If you go and look at what they have done running back wise, I mean, TreVeyon Henderson clearly came in and took over this backfield after the Oregon game. Some of that due to Mayan Williams, Felix's favorite running back, getting hurt. But I mean, once Henderson came in and kind of did what he did, he never really turned the ball back over. 183 rushing attempts over the year. But those other 2 running backs always get a decent amount of carries. Mayan Williams, 71, and Master Teague, who is, I mean, realistic. Love you, Master Teague. Not that good. 67. Go back through the years, those second run, third running backs always get some run, especially when Ohio State is winning big. They will pull those guys out and throw them in. Evan Pryor still got 21 carries last year. I think he's going to jump Mayan Williams at some point. I know Felix loves him, and I do think that he is a very good running back, but Evan Pryor I think is better. I think he will at some point either jump Mayan Williams or still be in the group there with that second and third running back getting a lot of carries. With Ohio State's schedule, he should get plenty of playing time with his receiving upside and just how good he looked in some of those games earlier late last year. I think Evan Pryor has a chance to kind of surprise some people with some of the points he'll be able to put up in a backup role at running back.
Cool. I took my headphones off when you said it was a Ohio State guy, so I'm glad I tuned in for the last 5 seconds. So
you got one more coming on the wide receivers, but then we'll be good. So
yeah, I'm just glad that I was able to make the transition. I like Malachi Thomas, and I think he's an interesting player for Virginia Tech this year. Virginia Tech is kind of in a transitional year that, they brought in basically an entirely new staff. They brought in almost an entirely new offense, and the one key player that's remaining is last year's true freshman Malachi Thomas, who, if you remember, had 2 back-to-back 100-yard games in the middle of the season against Syracuse and Georgia Tech when he was basically promoted to lead running back. He faded down the stretch, and I don't think that's necessarily surprising because Virginia Tech was playing they quit. They basically quit like week 8 is really what happened. They were not playing hard anymore. They got blown out in their bowl game. They just were not a competitive team. And it's not surprising that he suffered there. And so I think he's going to be the RB1. And I think he has potential to be a great collegiate producer for your teams. He's a guy I'm really excited about. I think he has pass catching ability. Even though I think he only caught 3 passes last year, I think he's a guy who can be an upside player in both phases of the game. There are losses on that Virginia Tech team, and that's what I'm a little scared off of. But he's one of the consistent pieces on offense that I think stays and has that level of comfort within a potentially new system with a lot of players who choose to stay. It's not sexy, but kind of like him. He's small. I don't know if he's NFL upside. He's, I think, 188 currently, but good collegiate producer. And that's how we're getting scored here. So that's how I'm picking my guys.
All right. Well, I won the competition, so my next pick is going to be Donovan Edwards. Donovan Edwards is going to be the Michigan running back to own here coming up this season, right? I'm not a Blake Corum fan. Blake Corum is listed at, I want to say 5'8", 200 pounds. I think he's more like 5'8", 190. But Donovan Edwards here has a really big upside for receiving, as well as they're losing Hassan Haskins to the draft. Now, Hassan had 270 carries, and hopefully that's all going to go to Donovan Edwards here. Donovan Edwards has the NFL size. He belongs to a top school, and I think he's going to take over here. And I think he has more tools to win than Blake Corum, and he has the upside of his size and athleticism, where I think Blake Corum, what we saw is what we got, and that's about it. But I think Donovan Edwards is just getting started.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I like the Donovan Edwards call. It's funny if Felix posted a little thing. We do ranking summits, and we're hoping to do those again this offseason as well. And we did them on the running backs last year, and your boy, the Ohio State Buckeyes fan, was the highest on Donovan Edwards out of everybody. And I was told I was stupid for having him ranked as high as he did, and then he looked great at the end of that season. I'm very excited to see him out there. I think him and Corum are going to be a very interesting duo for Michigan this year. So we're going to go through the wide receivers quickly because Felix he's very demanding. He likes us to keep these shows at a certain amount of time, and we're running close to an hour. Oh, and Mike was like, we need to get this quickly. I'm just going to move myself off the show. So, Mike, it was great having you here. I'm sure you'll be back in a minute. So I'll kick it off first. I went with Troy Franklin. I talked earlier how I think Ty Thompson could end up being the starting quarterback at Oregon. I think Franklin could benefit from that by being the main receiver there. I don't love any of the other guys they had. I mean, 18 catches for 209 yards last season. And I do think Dillingham, well, I know it was brought up to me that, he's never had a wide receiver break the 900-yard mark, which Mike talked about on Twitter. That's kind of the very few freshmen. I don't remember. You can let us know how that tweet was worded because I can't remember, but the hit 900 yards or over. Seth Williams almost hit it. And I think if he had had a better quarterbacks than Bo Nix and not necessarily been playing SEC competition, he would have done it. Well, guess what? Ty Thompson is better than Bo Nix, and the Pac-12 defenses are not SEC competition outside of Utah. So I think that Troy Franklin has a chance to have a really good season for the Oregon Ducks this year. Mike, who've you got?
Yeah, thank you. I'm going to start off with Lorenzo Styles here. One of my guys, nobody else has talked about him on the show except for me. Now, talking about the stat that Matt has alluded to twice now is the stat was only three second-year. I can't say sophomore, but 3 second-year wide receivers from the Power 5 conferences last year got over 900 receiving yards. That's it, just 3. I called it a down year, call it whatever, but it was still only 3. And so I was wondering what everyone's shots were, and that's what kind of led to this exercise here. But my first one here is going to be Lorenzo Styles. He went off in the bowl game. Again, like I stated with Tyler Buckner, it's a new offense. They passed for 500-plus yards in the first time. Styles went off for 8 receptions for 136 yards and 1 touchdown. They lose a receiver to the draft. I believe his name is Kevin Austin. He was almost a 900-yard receiver. And on top of that, they also lose Kyron Williams. That was, I believe, a 432-yard receiver as well. So there's a lot of vacant targets. There's a lot of vacant yards there. They only had one high-profile guy coming in this year, and Tobias Merriweather, who I am actually kind of high on. He's the top 15 guy for me. So the opportunity is there, and then it stocks up. The sky's the ceiling. You know, everything's lined up for him to succeed at this level, and he ended on a really nice pace.
I think that's a good call. I like both y'all's calls, actually.
What was his name again? Because I don't even know who you're talking about. I agree. I've not heard anybody talk about him. So
Lorenzo Styles. Don't get him mixed up with his dad. It's Lorenzo Styles Jr. So Don't get him mixed up.
That's a good name. Yeah, I'm glad you're able to pull that one out.
Yes, he's gonna style on the defense. It's very easy.
Yeah, I like that. So I guess this is apparently turning into one of my guys because I'm consistently higher than him in CFF ranks, C2C ranks, Devy ranks, and I don't mean to, but I really like Deshaun Stribling, who is the wide receiver at Washington State. He operated as wide receiver 3 last year. He had about 15% weighted dominator and a 1.04-ish yards per team pass attempt, which are both passable. Like, that is good enough for a freshman wide receiver where you're like, okay, maybe there's something there. What I really like is that Calvin Jackson and Travell Harris are both leaving this offseason. They're vacating over 1,800 yards between the two of them. Renard Bell, who's their slot receiver, is coming back. I like the other outside receiver in Donovan Ollie. I think he's an interesting player. But I think DeJon Stribling, who was impressive as a true freshman, can be an interesting option in an offense that brings in Eric Morris, who is the head coach at Incarnate Ward, and Cameron Ward together, and with already that consistency between the two, who head coach and quarterback. I think Stribling is the main beneficiary, and this is a guy who could exceed 100 yards this season with the pass happy approach. And he was already impressed as a true freshman. So he's a guy that can go really impressive this year.
All right, Moxley, it is time to remove your headphones as we are going back to the Ohio State Buckeye talk, and I am taking Emeka Egbuka. I mean, look, I put it on your thread, so I might as well just stick to my guns and say what I said on there. I did change one of the players, so. Last year, looking at their wide receivers, JSN, obviously massive season, 95 receptions. Chris Olave, 65. Garrett Wilson, 70. Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave are gone. JSN is going to be the guy. We're working on a project. I talk a little bit about JSN on it, and I honestly think he could break 100 catches this year. But that being said, we saw Marvin Harrison break out in that game against Utah in the Rose Bowl.
Talk about Emeka Egbuka. Emeka Egbuka.
Calm down. I'm getting there. Marvin Harrison, I think, is obviously going to be the 2. And Mecca, I think, is going to be the main third wide receiver on the field. Julian Fleming is going to start, but I just don't think he's got it. Injuries and everything, like I talked about with Michael Penix earlier, I think has kind of slowed his development. They're going to move JSN all around the formation, and Mecca will be in the slot. He'll move outside. He did split almost those times last year in the slot and outside for Ohio State in that second grouping. I would not be surprised if he gets close to 65 or 75 catches this year with what he can do in the slot and outside. And with that, some of that's going to come against weaker competition with Kyle McCord or even Devin Brown possibly in there. And he's going to rack up yards like he did in that Akron game where he took a catch 70 yards, and he's going to build up some of those catches and those yards. I think he's going to break that 900-yard mark. Emeka Egbuka in for a big season. I'm done. That's it, Moxley. The last Ohio State player I promise I'm going to talk about, unless someone brings up somebody in the after show. That's it. I'm done.
All right. So I'm up here, and this pick was a little inspired by Chris Moxley because I saw he threw on a Miami receiver, and I just couldn't help to think to myself how wrong he was and how he's just always wrong. So my Miami wide receiver is going to be Rashard Smith, right? He was 14 for 14 last year. That's right. Did not drop one ball. Solid hands. And as a high school athlete, he ran a sub 4.5 40 as a high school athlete. So he's got wheels. 247 comped him to Tyreek Hill. I know that's like how everyone comps everybody that's fast is they're automatically Tyreek Hill. But I think that speaks for something. And here's the other kicker is that he averaged 13.5 yards after the catch per reception. yards after the catch per reception. He got 13.4 yards per catch, which is insane. Now, here's the weird part. I gave a little bit of negative here with the positive. His ADOT was actually negative. A lot of his stuff came from behind the line. It was a lot of screen plays. And I personally couldn't answer the question as to why that is. But I like the tools. I see the twitch. I see the explosive, and I see the open field elusiveness. I want to see him get more involved in the offense. But I see the tools there where he can be a problem as soon as the ball touches his hands.
I like how you conveniently left the part out that I see on the show sheet about how he beat all these year 1-0 categories, which is the research that I did on Brashard Smith to prove that he is a good player, despite you slandering me.
All right. I brought him up one time in the Slack channel. I was like, hey, whenever everyone heard of Brashard Smith, and you guys were like, oh, he's hyped up in the spring game and didn't do much. And I was like, okay. So I mentioned him first, and then I think he was probably the inspiration for the entire year 1-0 category. Probably was. I'm not really sure, though.
All right, Christopher Columbus 1 and 2. Let's stop trying to figure out who discovered who. Austin does enough of that. Let's. Who you got, Moxley?
So I want to go with the other Miami wide receiver.
He doesn't even know the players.
Yeah, right. Romello Brinson. Again, this is the last time that I'll give Austin the credit, but this is a guy that he's really high on. Both Mike Harley and Charleston Rambo are leaving this offseason. Rambo was the outside starting wide receiver alongside Keyshawn Smith, and I think Keyshawn Smith retains that outside role, but Brinson moves into the other role vacated by Rambo. He ran outside 93% of the time when he was on the field. I think Xavier Estrepo is in the slot, and I think that he's a guy who could benefit from the vacated production that we're seeing. And I'm not as down on the hires as I think some people are. I think Josh Gaddis is a good coach who could be flexible. Like last year, not 2021, but 2020, he threw the ball like a 60% clip in neutral game script, which was like one of the higher ones of the country. Like I think he's a flexible playmaker. They brought in quarterback coach Frank Ponce, and I think Frank Ponce is a really good developer of quarterbacks, and I think they're going to want to throw a lot. So I'm happy to be investing in this offense despite the negativity around it, and I think Romello Brinson is the way to go.
All right. I was really hoping you were going to talk a little bit longer so that I could pull this up because it went away on
Sorry.
And I can go really like we were. Yeah, go right ahead so I can pull this Dominator rating up.
All right, no problem. Because I have to revive the show here. I know we're losing y'all here with these poor takes by Chris Moxley. Just 2 bad takes in a row, maybe 3. But we're going to talk about Caden Prather of West Virginia University, wide receiver 38. Put your hands down, Chris. No one cares, all right? Caden Prather. Caden Prather is also a year 1-0. That's why Chris is putting his hands up in his air. I like Caden Prather a lot. I mentioned the other day because I wanted some validation of my feelings, which I got from Chris. So we'll call this a joint venture. But so he's in the West Virginia offense. He had 12 receptions for 175 yards and zero touchdowns. But he exhibited really good speed and explosive ability for a man his size. He's 6'3", 210, already has an NFL size. And the way that I saw his athletics in practice and a little bit on tape that was there, I was pretty impressed. And I know I'm getting ahead of myself here, but I really feel like he's going to get that George Pickens type hype if he gets a little bit of production. I really do. That's how I see him as a prospect. And I'm pretty excited that West Virginia University also picked up USC's offensive coordinator. Yes, that is the offensive coordinator that was accredited to Keaton Slovis' freshman year. How Keaton Slovis went off his freshman year is the same guy. So the offensive coordinator from USC the last 3 years comes over to West Virginia University. I don't know the quarterback's name because he's really not relevant. Is gone. He's transferring out. They have 2 guys now battling it. You got, I believe it's going to be Will Crowder is his name, who was scout team, came in for 1 game, played very well. And then a freshman coming in, 4-star from IMG Academy. I believe he's quarterback 19. I'm actually a fan of. And if you're listening to this podcast and you're in my C2C startup right now, you better not draft him. I have 4 picks until he's mine. Don't pick him, all right? This is a threat. This is an absolute threat. This is at you, EK Baller. Don't pick my guy. They do that. They listen to this podcast and they pick up guys as soon as we mention them. Anyway, let's move forward.
All right, so go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, so I just think Caden Prater is an actual route runner, which is very rare for somebody his size. And as long as they have a quarterback that can throw the ball, there's no other talent on that roster to even threaten him. So it should just be the Caden Prater show. Moving forward, assuming these quarterbacks have a year to learn, I think it's going to be wheels up year 3. Still an early declare, and I'm very excited about that.
All right, so since we are running long, I'm just going to go really quick. I decided to stick with the guy that I posted in Mike's thread, and that is Shea Wyatt out of Tulane. Second leading receiver last year for the Tulane Green Wave. I'm a big fan of Michael Pratt. I liked him as a freshman. Both 2020 and 2021, that offense has been very good. I think Michael Pratt takes a step forward, and as does Wyatt as his leading receiver, leading to a big breakout second season. Moxley, give us your last wide receiver.
I love that call for Shea Wyatt, by the way. Nobody's talking about him, and I think that is an excellent choice. I like Prather as well. Both really good final choices. Mine is higher level than both y'all's. I like JoJo Worrell. I think that he is going to be the slot option in this offense. I think that Ja'Cory Brooks and Georgia transfer Jermaine Burton are going to be on the outside. I think Earl's the guy who can fill kind of what they're missing in that Mechie role. I think I know this is like a weird comp, but I think he's just a bigger Rondale Moore. I think he's a guy who has that same type of twitch and ability, and I think that he is going to be a productive player. I think he's the wide receiver 2 there, and the wide receiver 2 there is generally a very productive player. So I'm excited to see what JoJo Worrell can do in that Alabama offense this year, and they're keeping a lot of the same pieces intact. Despite losing Evan Neal, that's really their only big loss outside of Jameson Williams. I mean, yes, John Mechie, but they're missing him for a good chunk of time. Anyway, I think that JoJo Worrell is a top 30 CFF wide receiver this year.
I like it. All right, so that will do it for the Devy debate. Check out all of the content around the CampusToCanton.com family. If you go to the podcast channel, we've got Chasing the Natty dropping on Mondays, Campus Live dropping on Tuesdays, Devy Debate on Wednesdays. Thursday/Friday is Future Freshmen's with Brandon Sanders. And then obviously on Thursdays on YouTube, you can check out the official with Matt, David, and Alfred, one of the newer shows we've got on there. Check out the YouTube channel. Got a ton of content dropping on there. Felix's, what is, I forgot. Now I've got like Marvel's What If stuck in my
I got
head.
it. Don't worry about it. I'm standing
Go
in
ahead,
for Felix
Felix.
today.
Felix,
Apologies to Curb Street. We're out of time.
No, we're not at that part yet. No.
Oh,
Check out the
all right.
YouTube channel for the other stuff. We'll get to that in a minute. Apologies to Desmond Howard. Kirk was too busy tonight, and Desmond, I just didn't want to talk to you. So apologies to Desmond Howard. We will not reschedule you later. For Chris Moxley, Mike Valeri, I am Matt Bruning.
I am Felix Sharp.
Felix H. Sharp II? Or I think Felix is actually Sharp. All right, so it's after show time where Mike typically runs the show. He's a superstar, and lately we've been bringing on new contributors to allow our team to kind of get to know them. And today she just dropped a brand new article. It was very well written. Everybody welcome Hannah to the show.
Welcome to my bedroom.
Yes, that's exactly how I pictured it. I knew you were going to have a flower picture on the wall behind you.
Did you expect a Hawaiian shirt?
I hope so.
Channeling a little bit of Chris Moxley. I'm sure he very much appreciates that.
Opening question for you. Have you met anybody in Campus Kin besides, I think you met Felix, but have you met anybody else besides that?
The first,
I'm talking about like over video, not in the Slack.
No.
Okay. Well, then the follow-up question is, Hannah, do you know how much a polar bear weighs?
782 pounds.
That's pretty close, but it's going to be enough to break the ice. Okay, I'm Mike Valerie. You got Chris Moxley above me, and then to his right, your left. That's going to be Matt Bruning, aka the Sean McVay.
No, get out of here.
Get him out of here.
You said you couldn't make the show tonight. Get out of here. You're not allowed to come on. This is not how this works. Everybody, setting the scene. If you're listening to audio content, Mr. Felix H. Sharp A has now joined the show with everybody. Is that a teddy bear? Is that corduroy? Is that corduroy?
This is
Polo. This is this is Ralph Lauren.
Are you not wearing a black?
Listen, I just finished the podcast, Mike. That was a terrible opening question for Hannah, but I'm gonna see what else you got. So,
Mike is kind of off his game with the half mustache tonight.
I have a whole notebook. First off, I promise Austin and I follow through on what I say. Okay, I'm a man of my word.
Okay, Mike was slanderous the entire show, also. And I got DMs from Mike right here, talking about Caden Prather.
I told you I needed validation for my feelings, man. I'm like new to the whole young. I do Devy. I do draft stuff. That's my thing.
You started your Caden Prather portion with slander of me, and then went into Caden Prather, despite me and you DMing about him. That was very uncalled for.
Yeah, I love Caden Prather though. I watched his tape. I watched him in practice. I'm like, dude, this guy's explosive for his size. He has no business being as fluid as he is for his size.
All right, Hannah's the
Moxley,
new face.
You weren't even the only one. Look at that.
I know.
Mike's just DMing everybody here.
Yeah, I'm going to ask a question here. I got it, Mike. I'm going to ask one question and I'm going to be quiet.
5 minutes in, and he's already taking over the show already.
I mean, I usually am first on the mic, but Hannah, where does your enthusiasm for the Tops come from?
I'm from Bowling Green and went to Western, so I really had no choice. No, most people here, I would say, are not Tops fans. They're, yeah, right there. That's school right there. But I tutored the football players, so then I ended up loving Western even more.
And you're still affiliated with the school, right?
I work there, yeah.
It's hard not to.
I feel like I've really brought down the vibe here.
No, you're good. It's really Mike's fault. Mike's terrible at doing this. He just muted himself. Nobody could hear him. So this is why
I muted Mike about 60 seconds ago, and he just.
I didn't even realize it. I didn't even realize it. I got a notebook of questions here. I actually got prepared for this show and for the actual show. Unlike Felix, who just wants to pop up when there's no work or responsibility. Yes, my first question though.
Really quick, because I've got to go put my kids down really quick. How do you go? This is
kill your kids.
Your obligation. Let's calm down there.
I'm spreading the word. I'm spreading the word here about Campus 10. I had to go on another podcast. I just finished, and
schedule it around your actual obligations. That's all.
I gotta go. Start at 9:30.
It's you're hurting my feelings. I don't need Mike to What are you talking about? I mean, him not being on the show is what got you on. You should actually be pretty excited that Felix thinking, because I wasn't going to bring you on. It's like, no, me and Chris can handle it. And then it's like, why don't you bring on Mike? It's like, do I have to? And then Felix is like, yes. It's like, okay, fine.
I'm like Nick Foles coming in for the Super Bowl.
I wouldn't say that show was a Super Bowl performance, but the crapping on Austin and Felix was Super Bowl worthy. But the rest of the show, I don't know.
Did you see that, Felix? You see that when I did the whole wait a minute.
I was watching you guys, but I could not hear anything you were saying because I was talking.
Okay.
So.
Do you like the link down in the chair that I did when Matt started talking about Ohio State?
Yeah, he did. He commented about that in the chat. Actually, I remember that he did. So, okay. So back to Hannah though, because it's literally the whole purpose of this after show is to everyone get to know Hannah. Yes.
And her Hawaiian shirt, which here for the brand.
I do have some lighthearted questions. I got some football related questions. The first one is, this is actually very important to me because it gets me a little picture of who you are as a person.
Okay.
Have you ever in your entire life try to create a social media page and put your name, Hannah, with the word banana involved in it? I need to know if you just even attempted it.
No.
I'm very proud of you. That shows a lot of constraint. I appreciate that. Okay. The next question is that clearly you're a cat person in the chat. Very clearly a cat person. I want to know if you have. I want to know your political views on dogs.
It depends on the dog.
So are you anti-Chihuahua? Because I will definitely approve of that.
Yes, I would say I'm anti-Chihuahua.
Okay, that's cool.
The anti-Chihuahua lobby is going to be.
Have you seen those
mentions?
I like dogs that look like me. So have you seen the Afghan hounds? Like
Oh,
with
I love them.
I'm gonna
the really
Google it.
long hair.
Okay. That's kind of weird, but that's cool though.
Oh, I see. Okay, I got you.
That's weird. Okay. So then my follow-up question though, since you're like iffy on dogs, is like, can we meet in the middle and say that ferrets are very cool animals?
I think I'm a little scared of them, to be honest.
Okay, that's a little better. Most people respond with, "Don't they smell?" And I'm like, if you give them showers, they don't smell like anything else in the world.
Well, don't bunnies?
Mike,
smell?
time out. I need to address something here. Mike,
Okay.
are you showering with ferrets on a consistent basis?
Oh.
No. I had a ferret growing up. I thought he was a fantastic pet. I loved him. He was
And
great.
did you shower with him?
Nah.
Okay, well that's kind of just what you said. So you can backtrack all you want. We have it in the audio.
Okay. All right. We're
Anyway.
gonna move on. I actually do have now.
You can get Hannah Page's article, The 411 on the American Athletic Conference, on Campus Canton right now. It is the A1, the leading article on the website. And Hannah, I would say your Twitter handle, but it's like it's too many letters and too many. I gotta memorize that one to be able to recite it off the top of my head.
Please tell us where to find you. Like honestly, like tell us about where we can find you so we can follow your work.
It's Hanalei 91, but no one knows how to spell that, so it's HANALEI 91.
Okay. I do have a question
Gmail?
for you.
Did I say at Gmail at the end of that?
I hope not. I'm not emailing you.
So.
I'm not gonna.
Nobody send emails to that Gmail, theoretically, of course.
You can also find Hannah on the daily draft report. I think today, talking about, or yesterday,
Yesterday.
on Bailey Zappi. So
okay, actually, speaking of that, I've been listening to that because I don't know anything about defensive players. I'm learning a lot. I really am. I don't know a lot of terms, but I'm like learning through. I'm actually really enjoying that series. My question for Hannah, my next question for Hannah, this is actually serious. Is I just want to know how did Campus Canton find you? Like who recruited you? How they find you? How they approach you? Just tell me about that whole experience. I'm very, very curious.
It was Alfred.
Okay.
And honestly, it's kind of a blur right now. It was early January, I think. Maybe, I don't know, someone else could probably speak more to that than me.
Oh, Alfred can, but he's not here, so I don't know.
I was gonna say Alfred had said, I found someone who I think does really great work, and we all saw the work you were doing analytically, and like.
Well, Hannah also writes for Rivals WKU.
Yes,
So,
yes. Hannah,
not a
outside
sponsor.
of us, has lots of accomplishments. By the way, like she's a very great writer, very accomplished person. And Felix mentioned her 411 article earlier. I mentioned it during the show as well, in reference to Seth Hedigan. It is really one of the better breakdowns of the AAC you'll see, probably this offseason.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I do have a question about that.
Yes.
I also want you to talk about what Felix called actionable intel that you gave us probably a month ago, honestly, talking just in depth about the coaching staff at WKU. I believe they're moving to Texas Tech. Is that correct? Or are they moving to Texas A&M?
Two of them went to Tech. Kitley and the offensive line coach, who I honestly cannot remember his name.
That's okay, but I want you to talk about like the information that you share with us. I want you to share with the viewers here at Campus Canton.
Just about like where they went. What do I expect of?
Yeah, what your expectations are and their past accomplishments, and maybe throw out some bold predictions of Texas Tech fancy or C2C relevant players.
So let's see. Kitley leaves, but what very few people know is that Ben Arbuckle has been kind of with him from Houston Baptist days, and he's kind of been the right hand man, and now he's the OC at Western. Now, of course, with a good program, you're going to lose coaches and staff, and so that happened. But I think we've retained, a good chunk of it, as are like the players as well. Wide receivers, got a good wide receiver core. But then they go to Tech, and Tech's going to be awesome. I feel like they're just going to be awesome. Anywhere where Kitley is, it's magic. If he was able to do that at Houston Baptist and then fluidly do that over to Western, it's just going to keep translating wherever he goes. I think his name is Hamby. I want to say the O-line's coach is Hamby, and he was phenomenal as well.
Okay, so for
Hannah, so do you expect so Western Kentucky for Campus to Canton players was absolute gold last year. Absolute gold. Do you expect that to continue? I mean, that's really the ultimate question. Is there enough left there at Western that at least the system, the foundation for the offense that they ran last year, do you expect that to remain in 2022?
Mostly, yes, but I would have been more confident probably a week or two ago before we started losing even more. I can't say a whole lot because I know of maybe a player or two who might be leaving, but I can't name drop them yet. So, yeah, I think the foundation's there with Arbuckle. It won't completely disappear, and it really is going to be as far as, I can't say his name, the quarterback from West Virginia. You talked about him earlier, Doge.
Yeah, that's the guy. Yeah.
It's going to be as far as he can take him because it's the same wide receivers really minus, Stearns and Tinsley. So, but there's still a good group there. And then you get Simon back, Belgian back, Dawood Davis from Oregon. He's back. That was kind of a huge thing. But then we lost 3 offensive linemen. So that's where we're at right now. And then Noah Whittington yesterday. So.
Yeah, I was going to ask, do you expect, I don't know how to pronounce it either. I've always heard Dogie, but I don't know if that it's right.
I think it is Dogie.
Do you expect him to start over, what is it, Darius Ocean? Okay.
I do. I in G5, especially if you get that type of player, it's almost a shoo-in that they're starting. Do you remember Ty Story from Arkansas?
Yeah.
Okay, so that was 2019. They started Stephen Duncan for 3 games, and then he's injured. Louisville game, brings in Ty Story, Army, and after that, it was just a different team. So I don't know if it's kind of lesson learned situation, but he turned things around for the team. And then, Bailey, he had it off season. So I just have a feeling. I've watched no film on the guy whatsoever, so I can't tell you. It's just gut feeling. And Darius, I've watched. He's been in a couple plays here and there, but not enough to really say, yep, that's the guy.
That's interesting to hear. Yeah, a lot of people are assuming that he's the guy, but bringing in an experienced vet like Dogie, who has Power 5 experience in West Virginia, I think that will matter a lot for Helton and crew. So I'm excited to see.
Okay.
Hang on, Mike. I want to ask one real quick off something she just said. You just said when you were I know how deep you dive into the stats and everything from the stuff you've talked about in our Slack and everything. Do you prefer looking at stats, or do you like actually watching film on players, or do you just try to marry the two together for your analysis on players?
I marry the two. And if I see something and I kind of feel something, then I go look to the stats, see if it backs it up. Then the opposite, I look at stats, then go to watch film, see where they kind of marry.
All yours, Mike. I was just curious.
Hey, that's the best process. That really is. I feel like that needs to become mainstream coming down the future here. Analytics is a growing category here in fantasy, and so I think you're ahead of the game, and I love it. I do have a question. It's not going to be about WKU. It's going to be about Penn State, and I want to know who you think is going to be their starting X receiver and why it's going to be Mitchell Tinsley.
It is going to be Mitchell Tinsley.
Good answer.
He was that. Stearns, he's amazing. He's amazing at what he did. I don't think anyone saw Tinsley doing what he did so consistently. He's huge. He can go after that jump ball. He's got big hands. He's explosive. He's everything you want him to be. So I don't see how and why he wouldn't start with the numbers he put up, the explosiveness. But I'm also biased, and I'm also mad that he's gone. So.
The question comes, boys, is do we get draft capital from Mitchell Tinsley now that he's transferred? I mean, we saw it with Jameson Williams last year. We saw it with not Kennedy Brooks, but Trey Sermon transferring and then establishing himself as an NFL draft prospect. Penn State, between Parker Washington and Jahan Dotson last year, I mean, I think they had probably the second best wide receiver core in the Big Ten. It could be in the same boat this year. And Mitchell Tinsley, who, probably like a 6th, 7th round draft pick right now. Could he be a day 2 draft pick in 2023?
Yeah. So I actually want to talk about this a lot too, actually, because I love Mitchell Tinsley here. He's already, he is right now, or is going to be, a 5th-year senior. So he's already kind of past the early declare, the threshold, but he has a great story going from JUCO to G5 to P5 to a top P5 program. And I'm also curious about Parker Washington too. So last year we saw with Maryland, we saw Dante Demas go down, and we saw Raheem Jarrett not step up and be the alpha that we hoped him to be, or be the top guy. At least that's how I looked at it. And so I'm wondering if Parker, 1, can step up into that role, because that's kind of the expectation right now. And then 2, I do think Mitchell Tinsley does start in the X role. And because he's past that age threshold for me personally, I think I'm going to need to see some super serious extreme production. I'm talking about 1,000-yard plus receiving, something where that puts him on the top of the class as far as production.
Well, is nobody worried about Clifford though? I think that's the biggest thing holding both of those guys back.
Look, Jahan Dotson just put up how many yards did Jahan Dotson?
But it was just one receiver.
1,200, I think.
How good was Parker Washington's season? I don't remember it being that good.
Yeah, the bigger question that I actually have for Tinsley is, what was it, Mike?
I think it was 1,200 for Jahan and then 800 for Parker. But he was low in throwing it. It was really just those 2 guys, and everybody else got breadcrumbs. Yeah.
I actually think the biggest issue for Tinsley is not Parker Washington or passing volume. I actually think it's Condre Lambert-Smith, who operated as the wide receiver 2 there in terms of routes run and target share. I think that he's the guy. I don't know if he'll run as the X, but he's definitely the outside wide receiver until I see otherwise. I actually think Tinsley's good too. I don't think that he's just some dude posting up hollow stats in a good offense. I think he's a quality player downfield, especially. But I don't know if he's a guy who I can see getting day 2 draft capital. I do think that he can get drafted. We need to change an offensive philosophy if we really want to see him succeed, and we need more 3 wide receiver sets, because I don't know that he overtakes Lambert-Smith. I'm just not there yet to be confident. And I'm not the Western Kentucky person either. So Hannah can feel free to roast me on my Tinsley opinion.
Let him know.
No, I think that's valid.
No, it's not. What? No, Lambert doesn't even earn the spot. What are you talking about?
What else you got, Mike? What other questions you got?
Okay, get ready for this one. Hannah Banana. Please rate the top 5 silliest college football names, and you have to include the tops.
Oh, their nicknames?
Yeah, they just don't make sense. Who wakes up in the morning saying, I'm going to create a university and I'm going to call it the Tops?
The Hilltoppers. It's on a hill. It makes sense.
That's so
big. That's so basic. I'm walking to a building and call it the Brick Building. This is Brick Building University.
I can help Hannah with this one. You got to include the Cardinal because it's not plural. You got to include the Zips.
Yes, Zips. Okay, that's in mine.
The mascot's a kangaroo. That's a little out there for an American university.
Well, Alabama is an elephant, so
a Hokie. What even is a Hokie? Who's seen a Hokie? It's not though, because it would be called the Virginia Tech Turkeys. It's a Hokie.
Stanford.
You gotta include
Stanford tree.
Yeah, I was gonna say the Stanford tree. Have y'all seen the This Is SportsCenter commercial with the Stanford tree?
There's a bunch of them.
Yeah. Well, so the one where, God, I don't remember who the baseball player is, but he's describing the process about how his bat gets made. Yeah. And then the Stanford tree just fades in the background.
Yes. And Dwight brings up a good point. What is a Buckeye?
It's a
nut. It's a
It's a nut.
Imagine being named after a nut. It's like, come on,
man. I did not know
that. Go nuts.
They do go nuts, and they win a lot of games, and that's all that matters. So
they also lose
in this decade.
Go blue.
Hey.
Hey.
A lot of decades.
Damn right.
Yeah.
A lot of decades. And it was fun having Hannah on the show and part of the team. She will no longer be here.
Oh man.
Did we get 5? I think we got there.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah,
we had a few in there. We had some nice ones. I had zips up there too. I was like, "What's a zip? Is it a zipper? Am I just zipping up my my jacket when I'm in high school?" Like
their mascot is a kangaroo, so I don't necessarily understand like their relationship there.
So I also really wanted to talk more about her current project. I know like Felix hinted at it, so they'll come to the website and stuff. But I want everyone to know in this space, because I assume everyone read it, but even if you didn't, I want you to know that Hannah did reference Kobe Hudson in her piece.
I did. I'm not sure if this is a good or bad thing because I saw that earlier in the chat.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing if you're Mike. It's a bad thing for the rest of us.
Yeah, Mike is like, what's a good way to put it? You know, Stan, the Eminem song Stan. Mike is Stan, and Kobe Hudson is Eminem. Like that's kind of the relationship that we got with Kobe Hudson and Mike right now.
Did you understand that reference, Hannah? Are you lying just to roll with it?
I'm just rolling with it.
All right.
Dear Kobe, I wrote you, but you still ain't called. That's what I.
Oh, okay. I got you now.
I discovered Kobe Hudson, got super excited about it. I really thought he was a legit prospect, and then like a week later, I found out that he transferred to UCF, and I was already invested into him. And I can't give it up. I can't.
You discovered Kobe Hudson?
I mean, I respect it. I really do respect it.
Yeah, Matt was the one bringing up Kyle McCord at his
sophomore year, second year season.
Yeah, so I
is Plumlee going to be a quarterback or a wide receiver?
Got to be a wide receiver.
He'll be
he's going to be the quarterback.
But he will
play quarterback.
They just won't throw. Basically, they'll just be
Gus Malzahn,
an option team.
Right. What he's going to be Nick Marshall for Gus Malzahn. Yeah.
I have unconfirmed sources that Kyle McCord is going to UCF.
I'd be thrilled about that. I mean, not really, because Gus Malzahn's probably a shitty coach.
Yeah, Mike, is the unconfirmed source you?
I can't say. I can't reveal the identity. That would be irresponsible.
It's Vike Mallory, not.
You'll have
Vike Mallory.
You'll have to talk to my lawyer, Felix. Let him know.
It's Vike Mallory. Your last name is pronounced Valerie, right?
Yes, it's the girl's name. I let Matt mess it up all the time. It's okay.
So I mess everybody's name up. So
you're telling me you discovered Kobe Hudson, who was wide receiver 19 and the 111th prospect in the country? That's pretty impressive. You
don't understand how new I am to the college space. I started making draft prospects.
Felix over here.
No. That's not me. That's Austin. That's Austin's I like Bijan Robinson.
Whoa. Wasn't this like not even a couple weeks ago, Moxley, that we were like, let's talk about some random player, and then Felix brings up like a top 3 quarterback or something like that? Who was it? We didn't nickname you 5-star Felix.
No, I shoot from deep. No, I'm sorry. I shoot from deep.
Okay, Seth Curry.
I always shoot from deep.
I know what you're talking about. I just don't remember.
I can't remember who it was, but it was not a shooting from deep player.
I was guilty of this as well in an episode where I was like, I like Quentin Johnston. I like all these other like high 4-star, 5-star guys. And then the next week I went and named Ohio State's 3-star tight end recruit as my breakout because I had doubled down. On it. Sorry, go Mike.
I do want to say to Matt that I appreciate you skipping the first part of the show sheet where you're supposed to ask us about like who's some freshman guy that like really popped to us on the page, because I am in this draft and as soon as you guys mention somebody, they draft them the next day, and it makes me so mad because it's like I have them on a list and I'm like, yeah, I can let them slide. They don't know who this guy is, and then they pick them up and I'm like pretty upset about it. So I'm glad you didn't make me talk about like one of my prospects. Before the podcast started, I like bumped the guy even though we're only waiting for 10 minutes because I'm like, please pick, because I'm only 3 picks away and I can't talk about a guy right now.
You're welcome. I
was gonna manipulate the whole show to not talk about players.
Can I bring up a name that I will shoot? This name has not been meant. Actually, I might have mentioned this name last year at some point.
Is it a 5-star?
We want no, not a. This is shooting from deep. This is Matt Bruning. This is for you. This is legitimately shooting from deep. There is a wide receiver at Clemson that I really like because his skill set is different than the other guys there. Okay, and that is
Troy Stiletto.
Well, I like Stiletto, but it is wide receiver. Excuse me, quarterback turned wide receiver Will Taylor. I like me some Will Taylor. He returned a punt before he got injured last year. He has some athleticism. He could be a slot wide receiver for them. We're looking for that quick twitch guy to be able to get open quickly, and I think it could be Will Taylor. I doubt that he's been drafted in any of our mock drafts or anything like that. He shouldn't be, but he's
5'10", 175.
Is he exclusively slot guy, Felix?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
he
needs to jump. He needs to jump both Brennan. I think it's Brennan Spector and Troy Stiletto to get playing time. So like,
Isn't Stiletto
what it really is
is Stiletto a slot guy?
He'll play slot, yeah. Well, the problem is they have 6'3" guys across their entire formation. So who the F is going to start like in the slot that isn't Spector? I think it's Spector, and then I think it's Stiletto behind him because Stiletto's the only guy that kind of fills that role. I don't think EJ Williams is a slot guy. Like it's just an uphill battle.
Taylor was a high school quarterback turned wide receiver at Clemson. So
he's got 2 catches for 6 yards.
That's shooting from deep.
What about that? The Texas wide receiver, really athletic, has a couple of knee injuries. What's he up to?
Troy O'Meara?
Do you want Joshua Moore?
Not even at Texas anymore. Where is Joshua Moore at? SMU.
I am trying to crack the code on who's the next big SMU player. I don't know.
Goffney. You were right earlier. I mean, it's still Goffney.
Yeah, I think it is. I just want to be sure though. I mean, because Tanner Mordecai was like a 3,600-yard passer. Like I want that on my C2C roster. I want somebody that's going to catch those balls.
It's still Goffney. Well, ask Hannah who the next AAC wide receiver is going to be.
Yeah, which also, by the way, I believe, Hannah, I really appreciate that you highlighted the AAC because I think that's the top G5 conference.
I was just going in order alphabetically.
It's a good place to start. I do have a question. Because I was reading the article and I was excited about a lot of teams, and I'm excited that you brought Kobe Hudson up. I was super excited about the whole article. For Seth Hennigan, which me and Chris Moxley are a fan of, Calvin Austin leaves. Who takes the spot as the top receiving option for the Memphis Tigers?
Well, shoot, and Sonny, the Dykes kid did too, didn't he?
Yeah, he left too, yeah.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I didn't look that far. I just saw that they lose. They lose Calvin.
You gave a shout out to my guy in the article. I was glad you mentioned him. Javon Ivory.
Oh, yeah.
He's my guy, at least, I think, to assume. And you had another guy who I think Edwards, but I don't know as much about him.
Shoot, I must.
I know Javon Ivory is a talented player. Like I like Ivory. He would be my pick, but I didn't write the article.
It says, to Miss Page's article, Memphis will look to guys like Javon Ivory and Eddie Lewis to replace those playmakers.
Well, I black out when I write, so.
Hey, that's the best way to do it. Seltzer,
they
right?
Say I said stuff or said something somewhere, and I'm like, that's not true. I didn't say that. You show it to me somewhere. So,
yeah.
Yeah, it's very disappointing. I was just going back through all the show sheets, and I think we wrote over the one where you were all 5-star Felix because I can't find it. I found the one where Moxley talked about Quentin Johnson as a breakout player.
I've stopped doing that, writing over the old show sheets. I make a new one because we got to be able to look back, like when you said that Kyle Pitts would have.
It wasn't that hard. You literally type. There's this incredible machine called the internet, and if you type certain keywords into it, it's very easy.
You Googled it and you found the
I Googled
Devy debate show?
Kyle Pitts Devy debate, and it popped right up, and I clicked on the episode and then just listened to it. And found it. It really wasn't that hard.
I'm not going to lie. I didn't really know that you could do that with Googling like that.
That's not surprising.
So
I'm so sorry.
Felix's relationship with the internet is very...
Yeah, it's not.
So the funniest thing was when Felix discovered that your phones are listening to you.
No, yeah.
I do want to know, Felix, how are you doing on your rankings? I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Mike, I
do
thought
know
you were going to help me with that because I need to switch over to a new
Just
thing.
copy and paste. Just copy and paste.
Yeah, I can't copy.
Do not copy and paste. Please, dear God, you guys will give Jarek a heart attack.
Colby Hudson like 5 paces back and then just change your name.
I need your help, Mike. I need your help.
Speaking of copying and pasting, Hannah, since you help teach the student athletes there, have you ever had like a blatant like you were just like, oh man, Bailey Zappi is trying to copy off of Jared Stearns and like they both get like a 50% on the assignment?
No, I'm 30. I am way past tutoring days. I'm no longer a student worker.
Okay, sorry.
I can't.
Okay.
I can't say names, but
right. That's okay.
Allegedly did anything?
Yeah,
happen?
everything here is alleged.
Allegedly. How do I say this tactfully? There were 2 players.
Okay.
One did not cheat on an English paper, but he let the other person.
Can I guess which side of the ball was the cheater? Was it the defensive side? Was it the defensive side?
No, they were both offense.
Oh, okay.
The offense, the tight end let the wide receiver cheat.
Had to be a lineman.
No. The linemen are smart. The linemen are smart.
Yeah.
The linemen are the smartest ones. In addition, after the quarterback, your
guys.
linemen, they're quiet. They will actually do their homework. It's definitely a skill position player. It's probably the running back. Who else?
Running back might have let the wide
I'm
receiver
thinking it's the running.
We might as well just go down the depth
dumbest
chart.
teammate
She keeps shaking her head. So she said no to the running back and tight end. So at least wide receiver, quarterback.
I said it had to be a skill position.
No, one.
This is all legend. This is all legend.
One was a tight end.
Okay.
Okay.
It wasn't an offensive lineman.
Oh, does he play? Does he play for the Commanders?
No.
She can don't have her like incriminate anybody here.
No,
we got enough information. We're good.
Okay.
Basically, I found out and I overheard it from a professor, and I told the people in. Man, this is going too far. I told someone who needed to know, and those two players got to play.
Okay. Hopefully you told the team captain because he would have said that shit right.
No,
Is this Friday Night Lights?
I think one was the team captain.
Oh,
I remember one time, Higbee. If Higbee's never going to see this, but we got Tyler Higbee. He made me cry. I don't remember why.
Alleged, like in a bad way.
Allegedly.
Or a good way?
What?
Like he made you cry, like, oh, it was so nice, or he made you cry as in like.
Not everybody watches Les Mis.
Oh, sorry. Well, I actually don't want to slander Tyler Higbee, allegedly, of course.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened. We just kind of got into it.
Okay.
Well,
during a tutoring session.
I'm not a fan of his, so I got your back. Don't worry.
I traded him for a third in my only share, which I was pretty excited about in a rookie draft.
We're cool now.
I got yelled at on Twitter because someone's like, "Oh, Higbee's worth a middle of a second for a rookie draft." Think of the upside. I'm like, he's 30 years old, and then he just blew both his chances to break out. So I don't care anymore.
That's some hard hitting analysis. Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, no problem. I want to give people real life examples. I want to practice what I preach. All right.
What other questions you got, Mike?
Despite you slandering me in the same time that you were DMing me about the player during the show, I just want a validation. I should have brought up the DM. I should have sent the DM to Matt earlier. I didn't. You should have. I'd have just pulled it up on the screen. Yeah, I was gonna say I didn't know you were gonna slander me.
How was the show? Was it good?
It was good. It was good. We talked glowingly about you and Austin most of the show. Gave you guys props on the players that you guys have called out.
It was a little weird giving as much props to Austin as we did, but we did.
Yeah. I mean, very humble guy. He never toots his own horn, so we figured we needed to do it for him. Talk about how great he is at what he does. So
that's what Felix is like too. I mean, Felix is so
absolutely
mild-mannered.
I don't even know. I can't remember. I've known now Felix for a couple of years. I don't think you've ever talked about like how great you are at this. Your great calls, shooting from deep, like it's ridiculous. You need to be propped up more on the show.
Did y'all see Felix's tweet this week about what the fuck is his name? Mayan Williams. Where Felix, Felix said, for those who are listening, that Mayan Williams, any other offense, would be a 1,000-yard rusher with no evidence, and counted that as a dart throw win.
He instantly got picked up in my league, Felix. He got picked up 2 picks after that.
That's
he really
hilarious.
Did.
I'm going to start claiming players who don't break out as on any other
What
team.
are you talking about? A 3-star running back who started over 2 5-stars for the first 2 weeks of the season, had over 100 yards in both of those games, led the Big Ten in rushing yards per carry average. That's absolutely
He didn't even qualify end of season statistics to get up there.
Hang on. He led the team in rushing for how many games?
Like 2.
He was the starting
running back in the first
2 games. Yeah. He held off Travion Henderson. He is a 3-star prospect. That is
Henderson
shooting
hadn't played football an entire year. If he couldn't hold off
Henderson was the number 1 running back in his class, a 5-star running back that we very much ballyhooed. That is what shooting from deep is. That's what shooting. And then Master Teague is there too. Master Teague was what, the number 4 running back in his class? No, Mayan Williams started over both of those guys.
Is that a hit?
Master Teague sucked. Don't try to credit. Yeah, don't try to add credit
Master
to Mayan
Teague
Williams.
Was a 4-star running back. Okay,
so he didn't look like it though. I'll tell you that.
Mayan Williams was what, the 200th player in his class, or maybe the 200th running back in his class.
Would you consider Mayan Williams a hit for your purposes?
Yes,
I've already said that. I've already said that he's a hit.
Yeah, when you posted that dart throw meme and it has it hitting bullseye.
We had to sit here one show for 40 minutes and listen to Petty Felix talk about how Jake Haener and Mayan Williams are like massive hits.
Whoa. Don't do me like that. You all shitted on me on Ramondre Stevenson, Zach Wilson, Jamison Williams, who I was touting at Ohio State as being a good player, goes to Alabama and blows up.
I'll give you Jamison Williams. That's it.
Like
Zach, what is Zach?
Oh, I'm sorry.
On that same weekend. Go ahead.
Tyler Van Dyke, who was what, 3rd on the depth chart behind De'Aaron King this year? Don't let me be petty.
No one believed in De'Aaron King anymore. No one should have believed in him going.
Nobody
to this
believes
year.
in De'Aaron King.
Now I do. I need to say this before I forget. I forget. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, but I forgot. That's not a part of it. That's not the point. All right. I want to say this before I forget, because I've been meaning to say this for about an hour. Austin and Colin called me out on their show because they're like, Austin said, "I'm the real think tank," and then Colin's like, "Oh, that's Mike," and Austin's like, "Mike doesn't listen to our show." Austin, I'm the real think tank. I don't see you put any ideas in the group chat ever. Okay.
Okay. You know who doesn't listen to Devy Debate either? That he will never find this episode. Alfred is fucking not listening to Devy Debate.
Alfred doesn't listen to any of our shows. He does not support any.
He doesn't.
Of us.
What should we tag anybody who listens to this? What should they tag Alfred with?
Tag
because
Alfred.
It was eyeballs
peach
on
emoji. Peach emoji.
A peach emoji.
Yeah.
Okay.
Peach emoji.
So go tag
Alfred with a peach emoji tomorrow.
Peach emoji. Yeah.
Hannah, I do have a question now for Hannah. Hannah, I need you to be honest, and it's okay. Whatever you answer this question with.
I'm really afraid what Mike is going to ask here.
Do you listen to all of the Campus to Canton podcasts?
I don't even know all I have podcasts.
Do you listen to any of them?
Yeah, I've listened to Devy Debate just about every week. And,
okay, but you
the best
did
show
you ask when it was?
So you nailed
that's
that
all,
right
that's
there.
all that matters.
That's
I was actually hoping she should say no, because we would have just ended it. We would have ended the show on that one.
Yeah,
no, I don't listen to any of them. We would have just ended the show on that one. But
okay.
Go ahead.
Actually, I don't know what to say. I guess I'm kind of good with ending it because it's getting kind of late. I don't know.
You can't just end it. You can't just end
end
it.
it
When it's
like
kind
that.
of late.
Oh, okay. Sorry. All right. Here's my outro. You guys. All right. Let me get this notebook out of here.
What about the?
Do you got another
battle?
polar bear question or something?
No. No, I don't have any polar bear
Mike
questions.
has pulled out a book and he is reading
I
a
wrote
book.
you, but you still ain't calling.
Yeah. Okay. Actually, Hannah, I do have a question about the freshman guide. I don't know if you got a copy of it. How do you feel about the wide receiver going to Purdue? His name is escaping me. Curtis DeVell. I need to know.
Who did you say? Who?
Curtis DeVille.
I'm pretty sure you're pronouncing Cruella DeVille, and she's
Did we seriously write up a player named Curtis DeVoe?
I hate that you guys don't know this. He's like a my guy. I hope big wide receiver guy still in the chat. Please, big wide receiver guy, help me out. Like, say something.
He's still here, I think, but I don't.
You're talking about Cruella DeVille. She's the villain in 101 Dalmatians.
It sounded like you were just like trailing off a name. You were just like,
oh no, it's a real player.
Don't make fun of me. I do that a lot. I had such bad speech impediments growing up. It was terrible. My dad made me go to a speech.
Don't make me the bad guy.
Okay, Hannah.
That's the title. That's the title of the show. Hannah Page, the bad guy.
Yeah, Hannah.